Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Tradesman Experience. This is the podcast built by tradesmen for tradesmen. My name is Josh, and the interview that I've got today is from a guy by the name of Trenton Wisecup. Now, Trenton has made quite an impact over the last few years in the roofing industry. And in our conversation, you're going to find out that a lot of his success has to do with the magic of sales. And I say sales has to do with the magic of building relationships, adding value, and helping people make the best decision. So he's been featured in several different articles. He's been on several different podcasts. Their firm reached out to me. I read it. I'm like, yep, I think this would be a good guy to add some value to you and me and anyone else listening. So guys, here is my conversation with Trenton Wisecup. What is your expertise and what brought you to that expertise?
Yeah, my expertise is going to be roofing and like roofing sales, right? And I would say, to keep it the tradesman, I would say roofing sales. But realistically, if you want to sell anything, I'm the guy, right? How do we package it? How do we position it? What's the framework? What's the hooks? How are we anchoring them? Like all these different fancy words and all the things that a lot of people just don't know about.
Mm-hmm.
But there's formulas behind success. And so, but roofing, and it would be my expertise as far as the trade work. And how it found me is I was so I didn't go to school or anything, and I was brainwashed at the time that you did have to go to college in order to find the success that you wanted. So like I was really disappointed that like I wasn't going to school, but I was a server at Cracker Barrel, and a large storm restoration roofer from Texas was working in our state, and they were working a local hailstorm, and they recruited me out of the Cracker Barrel, and the rest is basically history. I worked for them for 2 seasons, and right after that. So when I started with them, just talking about how effort always beats skill and experience. Like, dude, I didn't know anything. I was a pretty boy. I never thought I would be a roofer, or getting on a roof or even doing a roof or talking about roofs. Like that I'm from the city. That's just something like we didn't really talk about, right? I had been on roofs and didn't even know what one looked like. Like I had jumped off roofs into pools. I had drank and snuck out, and I just didn't even know what a roof looked like. And, but I was willing to put in more effort than anybody around me. Right. And so I excelled, and I became their top producer 2 storms in a row. And so much so that they really gave me like an added responsibility in a lot of cases. And it allowed me to get really close to their leadership team. That was ethically in different areas very challenged, but they knew what they were doing when it came to certain things, and so being able to kind of filter that information, at the end of the day, they had the old model where you sell, build, collect. So I'm selling my jobs, I'm overseeing the installs, I'm invoicing them, I'm collecting them, I'm doing all the communication work. Like there's no help. I did the job from A to Z. So I just learned the whole thing, and just learned the office stuff because I did so much work. I had to be involved with ordering. I had to be involved with collections. I had to be involved with so much that I just learned a lot. And there was just some things that happened with my boss and I where he hurt my feelings. They didn't pay me, and I ran away, and I was I had turned 20 at that point. And I went and became an insurance adjuster because I was in the storm world. And I was like, you know what? These insurance guys, these guys seem like they make money too. They drive nice trucks. And I did that for Hurricane Matthew in 2016 in Daytona Beach. And they deployed 60 of us. They kept 8 of us. They put us in an Airbnb. I got to hang out with the owner of the little firm that we were working for. And he's the one that showed me Xactimate. So I learned a lot in a short amount of time. And then I started my own business. And then that's, we were selling the roofs and putting them on because I was like, oh, I'm going to double dip, Josh. I was like, dude, I'll sell the roof. I'll build the roof. And the rest is history. Well, we built 6, and I was like, dude, this is never going to work. I was like, I'm the only roofer. I have all my friends working for me. They're dicking around. They're fighting each other on the roof. Like, we got to put these things on right. We got to do it quick. Like, we can't be here for a long time. And I just realized really quick that I needed help, professional help. And so I went back and adjusted again in 2017 for Hurricane Harvey in Houston, and then burned back over to Florida for Irma. And just, it's fast, good money. You're able to help the communities that are affected, but it's a lone wolf game on the insurance side. And like for some people, it's absolutely perfect. For me, I needed to be selling to people. I needed to be connecting, making relationships, making people's lives better, and bringing my attitude and all of that to the market, because it's so electric, and I can get referrals. And I just missed that high of closing someone, watching that roof go up, getting that 5-star review. Like, that's what I loved. And so I just went back to Michigan, and 2018 was like our first full year of like sales, right? Where we had crews and stuff, because all that money I made from adjusting, instead of buying like a boat or a fancy truck, I took all that and invested it immediately into like labor and just resources and things that we need for the business. But in a 4-minute high level view, that's kind of like, after that, the rest is history. So,
well, you're not a typical blue collar guy, because you didn't spend it on a boat and a truck and a house and toys. You made the decision, right? It's like, it's common practice for the blue collar trades is to get a little money and then they spend more than they make. The sales aspect, what was it that attracted you to the sales? Because Trent, my experience is sales, the term salesman, right? The salesperson just has this negative connotation to it in the skilled trades. And a lot of people that want to start their businesses, they want to do it without learning, understanding, and pursuing the art of sales, which ultimately is their linchpin. I think it prevents growth, it prevents reinvestment, it prevents pay raises, because they don't want to learn how to sell. And a lot of them don't take the time to reinvest in themselves, because you said that in that high level synopsis there, you had some ethical things going on with the business. And I think immediately people, they side on that. Well, sales guys are sleazy and they don't tell the truth and they're just doing it for money. I'm interested in, what was it about the sales game that attracted you in did you have to overcome that mindset? And if you did, or what are you doing to help your clients overcome that mindset?
Yeah. So interesting and very funny, right? So I think you hit it on the head when you said that they just don't know how to sell. And because they don't know how to sell and basically connect and effectively communicate the value that they're offering, it's very harmful to both of them, their business, but then it's harmful to the consumer, because the consumer needs us. So like, it's not like we're doing this for fun. Like, no, there's people out there that actually need you, and they need you to be smart enough and confident enough to be able to communicate and explain to them why they need you. I can't explain and tell you how many meetings I go into, whether I'm shadowing a rep, whether I'm coaching a rep up. Maybe it's a big deal and I need to get involved. They're always like, listen, I need to think about it more. Oh, I didn't even know I needed this. And then they're actually thanking us at the end of it, because we were able to bring so much to their attention. We were able to effectively communicate the value that we're bringing, the situation and the solution, and the different options of the solution, right? It's not like, hey, this is what you need to do. It's like, hey, listen, there's a couple of different things that we can do here. Which one makes the most sense to you, right? Mm-hmm. The other thing is like, sales has changed a lot. So like, you can't sell the same way even that you sold 5 years ago now. In my career, my pitches, my ability to connect, my ability to ask the right questions. Like, so many salespeople, they're so focused on like, features and benefits. Mm-hmm. And they're talking so much. and they're thinking that that's selling. They're thinking that that's building value, and it's not anymore because the consumers are so wise now. There's so much information, and they're smart because we buy everything now. In America, we're consumer driven. So like we have a lot of experience, interactions with so many different businesses, so many different sales funnels, approaches, so many things that they're really, really smart. And so at the end of the day, like we don't really even focus on selling. And I use that word sales because everybody understands that. But like all we're doing is just having a conversation. So like the same way I'm talking to you right now is no different than the way that we're going to connect with somebody on a call or we're talking in the office, right? Because we've humanized it. A lot of people, like you said, oh, salespeople, negative connotation. It's like, guys, we're humans too. Like I have a roof, I have a family. Like, you know, if it doesn't make sense, we'll be the first one to tell you, don't do it. Right? We're not here to earn the business of the people that it doesn't make sense for. They can't do it. Right? But at the end of the day, I say all that to say that when they're not selling, which is just furthering their communication skills, their business acumen, and all those types of things, then fundamentally they're hurting themselves first, and then they're also hurting their market.
Why do you think they focus so much on the features and benefits versus solutions and value?
I think what it comes down to, Josh, is their ability to ask effective questions. Because when you're asking questions, they can be like confrontational. Sales is like, it's like its own sport, right? It's an awkward sport. Right? You got to be able to be comfortable, like getting in a weird position, like in jiu-jitsu, somebody's got in a weird position. Are you going to tap right away? Or are you going to try and like maybe fight your way out and better your position? And so it's easy to talk about the product. It's easy to talk about the benefits. It's easy to talk about the process, right? What it's hard to do is find, fact, qualify that consumer appropriately so that you can not spend this hour wasting time. You can actually spend 35 minutes, 40 minutes, target and isolate all their true objections, all their true concerns, all their true problems, overcome those with the solutions that you know you can provide. And now the deal's done and they're happy and you didn't even sell. All you did was act. Dude, sales is like therapy. Like what do therapists do? They ask you a bunch of questions. Right? They get you to reveal the problems. And then what do? They very strategically just reframework what you tell them back to you. Okay, so you would agree that the roof is a problem right now because of X, Y, and Z. Okay, so you know, if I'm hearing you correctly, it sounds like it does need to be replaced, right? Oh yeah, it does. I would, you know, okay. You know, and then at the end of it, what is it that we provide a solution? Okay, so now after gathering all this data, all this information that you just spewed onto me because I was willing to listen and not talk, and I always teach the guys that it's healthy confrontation. When you get vulnerable with people, it kind of brings that level of trust a little bit closer. Because you're right, sales guys are sleazy. They're not asking genuine questions. When I ask you a genuine question, and I'm getting vulnerable and you can tell that I'm challenging our relationship in that moment subconsciously, that builds a lot of trust because they can see that I'm going a little bit deeper to figure out what's going on. And some people get offended or some people, you know, they throw it up and it's like, whoa. Like I have no personal interest invested in this. This is like up to you guys, but I need to know how we're getting funded for the deal. Okay. Cause it's not cheap. Mm-hmm. So, you know, you can share what you want or what you don't want. It does not matter to me, but you got to understand like this is how it works and different things like that. So, and I'm kind of blabbering on now.
No, this is good. I like it because and you brought up the price thing. One of the struggles that I had early on, Trenton, was having confidence and conviction in the price, and I should say the cost. And for me, it was recognizing that it wasn't a cost. It was really an investment for the client for us to solve their problems. But I'm interested on your take on that. Why do you think that internally so many of these business owners have such a difficult time talking about money to the client?
I guess they're scared. They're nervous or anxious, which doesn't really make sense because it's just business. So like if you are running an ethical business, and even if you're not, I mean, it's not like you're getting all these sales. Like if you know what your cost is and then you're putting an appropriate margin on it, dude, you're competitive in the market. So it's just like, listen, this is my favorite thing. You know, we're never the cheapest ever. I've never lost a deal unless it was the Hansons. We encourage people to go get estimates from Hansons now because it makes us look cheap and affordable. It's just like, yeah, go get an estimate from Hansons, you know? So a really easy way to like break the ice and to overcome that, and kind of, we just tell the guys that your job is to advance the sale. So just how to advance the sale in that moment really easily is by like, all right, Josh, here come the numbers. Okay, check your pulse. Check your pulse. Are you sitting down? Okay. I'm going to give you the biggest number you ever heard. Are you ready? And then you go into the payments, right? So it's like, okay, for the roof swap, you're looking at $100 a month. For the middle of the road, you're looking at 150. For the Cadillac, we're looking at 200, right? And what it does is, I don't know if your parents, grandparents told you this growing up, but they always said, like, don't close your eyes during a scary movie, right? Because your brain, your imagination will make it more terrifying than what they're showing you on the screen. So that same concept, we applied it to our sales formula. So that way I'm price anchoring you to what you think's expensive. When I'm like, all right, check your pulse, it's coming. You're like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a $500 a month payment. This is going to be a $40,000 roof. And when you are price anchoring yourself now to a $400 a month payment, and then I come in at 100, now I look affordable. Mm-hmm. And it breaks the ice and it makes it fun, right? To go over the numbers. Because the whole thing is, it has to be humanized. It's not this big catalyst like, here come the numbers. Oh, here, no, they could say no. It's like that they're gonna say no or they're gonna say yes. Mm-hmm. Right? So like, let's just have fun. Let's go over it and let's be real with them. Let's humanize the interaction. Right? Because contractors, dude, my early career, I got taken advantage of so hard. Oh my gosh. I was used and abused, man. And what I started to learn is like, dude, they don't treat us like a lawyer. Like, you would never go into your lawyer's office or your doctor's office and just like cuss them out because you didn't like something. I'm like, what is going on here? Like, why do they treat us like we're dirt? Like, look at what we're doing for them. You know, look what we put up with, you know? And then it came all the way down to like, they don't see us as humans. The interaction's not humanized. So then we changed everything to where it wasn't this like professional, this is what we're offering you. It's like, dude, no, we're humans too. Like, this is our job. Like, same way you have a job, like we have a job. And like, it just happens to, we make it more fun, right? So the customer and the client experience is then better, and the rep experience is better. Right? Which goes back into the very first thing you were talking about, the culture. So like, if the culture is all crudted up, you know, and blah, 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 it's just not going to work. But when they're having fun, even when we're missing, you know, like, the whole thing is building confidence in your team. So if every time they're losing deals and you know they should be closing higher, you can't go in there and chew everybody out and yell at everyone like, oh, we were supposed to be at 15% higher. I'm paying $40,000 for leads last week, and this is, you guys need to be, you know, and all that. It's like, hey guys, listen, like, what the frick, like, you know, this is really good. Like, this is actually excellent, but I know we're better. So like, who had a challenge this week? Like, what were the biggest challenges we saw? You know, and having a spirit of collaboration within your culture and within your team, because at the end of the day, the best leaders, we work for our people. Like, you can't go in the office and think everybody works for you and I'm some big CEO and look what I've done. It's like, dude, you can do nothing by yourself. So the same way that you would work for yourself, the same way that you would work for your boss if you had one, or a mentor if you had one, that's the intentionality and the engagement level that you need to have for your team, in providing them resources, clarity, so I mean, just all of that, resources and clarity. You have to be intentional about positioning your team in the right area with the right tools so that they can win. Because at the end of the day, if they don't win, we're screwed, right?
you talking about missing the mark, not selling the percentage maybe that they needed, and not turning that into a verbal assault session, right? Where you are assassinating your team, but you turn it into kind of a celebratory learning experience. I think that's genius, because you know how you're keeping score, and you're giving people an opportunity to share how they failed. What were some of the difficulties that you had? What were some of the objections that you faced? What was the loss? Why do you feel like? And at the end of the day, the client is going to say yes or no. The client has the ultimate say in what's going on. It's just our responsibility to inform and educate them, and give them the information they need to make the best decision for them. But win or lose, what do we take away from that? And you're right, that is cultural. It is cultural because it removes the high pressure sales stress from those individuals and puts them on the same side of the aisle as the client now. So yes. we're not the company, right? We're not the company sitting across the table trying to convince you to buy something. And I think that's a mistake that we make, is we try to convince them to buy something. You're not trying to convince them to buy something. You're just educating them on how you can solve their problem, so they can make a decision on whether they want you to do that or not. And it sounds like that's kind of the culture in your sales approach that you have.
Yeah. I mean, it's really simple, right? People do business with the people they like.
That's right.
So like if you can position your value, so like you do your fact, find, qualify, you position, the value add that you guys bring, and that solution's affordable. At the end of the day, if they're like, oh, I need to think about it, it's like, listen, Josh, you wouldn't have got on the call if you weren't ready to make a decision, and they're like, oh, no, I'm not. I was just looking for estimates and just doing research. It's like, exactly. Why are we doing that? Oh, because the roof needs changed. Okay, gotcha. And applying pressure to them, that's not an evil thing to do. They need that sometimes, they need that. When you go to if you're going to go buy a watch, or you're buying a car, or you're buying a house, like, you're going to listen to the realtor, you're going to listen to your attorney, like, you're going to listen to that advice. And a lot of times when we get that advice, sometimes they do apply pressure. Like, hey, this is the deal you need to take. Hey, I know that this is best for you guys based on what you explained, what we've found out. Like, this is what you guys need. So if X, Y, and Z is all on the up and up, why would we not do it? And again, getting in those uncomfortable, healthy, confrontational, awkward conversations. But at the end of the day, like, that's what they need. That's what the client needs. That's what they want. And if you're professional, it's not even weird.
Right.
It's not even like a weird, like, oh, here it comes. It's just like, this is our arena. This is what we do every day. Like, you think you're the first person that's told me I need to think about it. You think you're the first person that, no, we hear that all the time. So now with AI, all the different tools, dude, it's like, here's what I've been using. Put in ChatGPT here, make this sexier. How do I make this sharper? How do I overcome this more effectively? Boom, 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 boom. Now there's a script. It's like, okay, now let's try these 3 over the next 20 calls, and let's implement this. You're not going to win every deal, but if you're not growing and challenging and staying up with the times and staying up with what your market needs immediately, then you're gonna be a dinosaur, right? Talking about AI and technology and all the tools that are at the tips of our fingers now, making our lives easier than ever before.
When does easier or more simple with leveraging technology, when does that start to replace the relationship building with the client? I'll tell you why I asked that question is I'm familiar in the roofing industry that kind of no contact sales is very popular now. You get on Google Earth, you get measurements, or whatever app, you get measurements of the house, you bid it over the phone, and nobody ever has to go stand in front of that client. I'm interested to hear like where you're at. What do you think? How does that affect the relationship? What are you guys doing to overcome that?
So we're very controversial. Okay. So like, people may agree, may not, totally fine. But like we have been like, all right, so we're big in innovation. Okay. Like where is roofing going? Like I have to protect my family for the next coming future. So I need to understand like where is our industry going? What tools are necessary? Like what you just asked, right? So like we've been doing for the last 2 years, this will be the third year in a row where all of our closing appointments are virtual. So we have like a virtual presentation where we're able to share 3D schematics. It's a completely new approach in the roofing space, and we're finding major success with it. Why? Because the people can do it from their phone, from their bed, from the office, from the car, the right time that works in their day. There's no more having to come over at 7, 8, and 9 o'clock at night when I'm trying to be at home with my family, right? Well, there's so much more flexibility in the virtual. Plus, if you're getting a large volume of sales and leads coming in the top of the funnel, you're able to run more appointments a day per rep virtually. So because of drive time, the cost of gas, all the things that the guys complain about for somebody that ghosts or doesn't show or doesn't close, now that all is eliminated because we can call, qualify, make sure they're going to show up for the meeting, and then do our best to earn their business on the meeting. So, like we run a setter closer model. So we have a guy that will go out as a first touch, that'll get all the documentation, all the pictures, fly the drone, get in the attic, get the utility bill, qualify them for solar. And then they submit a narrative and all this paperwork to the closer that they're assigned to. Closer reviews it. Okay, let me back up. So the setter does all that, and then they schedule for their closer. Okay, they schedule that meeting. Boom, meeting pops up on the closer's calendar. They're able to go back into the job profile, review it, prep it, get all the numbers, the proposal, boom, 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 ready. They call the day before, hey, Josh, are you still good tomorrow at 12? Boom, and then we run them through a proposal. Mm-hmm. Then the crew and the construction coordinators, project managers go out, oversee and manage the installs. So the human aspect, I don't think will ever be able to be taken. No, I shouldn't say that. Won't be able to be taken out for at least 4 or 5 more years. I think we got a little bit more time because it will get to a point where they can probably just customize it from an app on their phone, source every roofer in the 50-mile radius, what their prices are, because we're in some type of system where we put it all in so that we can earn those leads, when people are just punching them in. So at the end of the day, I think the time is limited. I don't know how big into conspiracies you are and like all the stuff that's going on in the world and where they're pushing us towards the 2030 agenda and all these sustainable deals and blah, blah, blah. So they are trying to hurt small business. They are trying to hurt the average tradesman, right? Like the blue collar people. And if you're not innovating your processes, I mean, there's going to be billion-dollar companies with 10 people in them because of AI. There's going to be multi-million-dollar companies with 4 people in them. Why? Because of the tools, the AI, the technology. They're going to be more profitable than we've ever seen. And it's going to be 4 people running it, 5 people running it, because they're utilizing the technology and the resources around them. So like we've implemented a lot of AI over the last 2 years, in our lead gen, lead follow-up, our coaching tools. Like there's a new app out there called Siro, Siro, and it records every single sales guy's meeting, every single one. So you fill it with your scripting, you put your core values in, you build it out, and then when the guys are done with the meeting, they go back and it's like watching their own game film. So now it's like a coach in their pocket. So there's not all this guessing. So when we're doing our one-on-ones, we're like, okay, Josh, so, you had 15 leads and you closed 1, like what's going on here? And you're like, oh, I said all those things. Like I said that, I did what you said. And I'm like, all right, well, why didn't it? All right, well, let's try this. And now it takes all the guessing away. And like as leadership, there's a dashboard so we can see all of the analytics behind who's recording, who's listening, how much they're recording, how much they're listening, what dates, what are the most objections that the AI is picking up, what frequency are those objections, what percentage are we hearing those of the calls. And then we're able to ask the AI, where in the sale did I lose the deal? Where could I ask more aggressive questions, more qualifying questions? Where could I have built more pain? Where is this? What did I do great? Well, what's something that I excelled at in this conversation? So now we're able to like learn at an accelerated path. Even myself, having that AI talk to me and tell me where I lost the deal, it's like, ooh, this is dangerous. Like this is dangerous, the coach in your pocket. So there's people out there that are spending the money, that are training the reps, that are giving and investing the tools into their team to make them scarier and, more dangerous, if you will, in the market than their competition. So I think we still got a little time to answer your question, but technology is advancing that at like a fast pace. Because you're right. If we didn't want to go out, we wouldn't even have to go out, but we still want one in-person touch before the build.
Okay. No, I like it. I mean, that's probably the old school in me that I think that personal touch of relationship is always going to be hard to replace, but people will gravitate towards convenience most of the time. And the idea of having an app where you put in your information and it outsources that, I very much see that being a player in a lot of industries in the trades, because they can look and go, I've got a 3-ton air conditioner and an 80,000 BTU furnace. And all right, this is what I've got. And it outsources it. I can see it impacting our industry the same way. So yeah, it's fascinating. We'll always be there to do the work though. We always got to have bodies to do the work. Now, Trenton, with your coaching and your speaking business, let's dive into that a little bit. I'm interested in what you offer and how you offer it, and what value that you're adding to people and what you're learning from it.
Yeah. So we have a consulting business called Empower Me. It's specific for roofers that either want to start a roofing business. It could be retail or storm. It could be a retail guy wanting to add storm to his current arsenal. It could be a storm guy wanting to figure out how to add retail to his business. And then also our unique SolveX method on how to sell the unique GAF Timberline solar shingle. We were the lead installer for that product in Michigan in 2024, and we are on our way to leading the country in installs this year. We don't know if we're going to do it. It's a goal, but I think we can do it in an underdog market. And all of our success it's all packaged, right? So you could get as granular as like getting all of our contracts, getting the culture playbook, leadership playbook, sales playbook, the SolveX method on how to sell the solar, all the proposals, the coaching, the mentorship behind how to effectively implement this stuff with your team. And so I saw a big need for that. And so I wanted to make sure that there was a resource readily available to roofers that are trying to go to the next level. So we have partnerships with other vendors that are way better at me than like recruiting, even though, talent acquisition is part of it. We've partnered with, people that have recruited, hired over 5,000 reps in just 10 years. So like, what are the best recruiting practices? What are the best retention practices? All the things that we've implemented in our business and the relationships that we've been able to build, we provide a bridge of access for anybody that wants to pay to play. Because that's another big thing. They'll go out and they'll spend money on a freaking four-wheeler, but then they won't spend $10,000 on a mastermind group that's going to show you like how to implement core values and help you build relationships with people that could help make you way more money in 3 years, right? Now they're calling you because they need help doing this. Do you want to invest in that? So we provide a community of roofers that are all going through the same problems, and it is that collaborative spirit. So it doesn't matter if you're in our market or not. because there's not enough roofs for us to all do. Okay. So it just, the vulnerability goes a long way, and it's helped me learn from so many people, and it's helped me take an accelerated path. And now I don't have to do or make certain boo-boos, if you will, in the business and in financial investments for the business. And the list goes on, because I was able to connect with somebody that had already gone through that and carved a way out and could give me hindsight on something I couldn't see without them.
Do you guys have an event, or are you guys doing events, or have you had the opportunity to be a part of any events as a speaker or vendor?
So great question, Josh. So this has been a 2-year project in the making.
Okay.
And so it just launched this year. And this is part of what's going to help drive the success of that campaign, is getting our story out there, letting people know that, hey, there is an affordable resource that you guys can use without going to like all of these, sales gurus and these life coaches and blah, blah, blah. I'm still growing my business. I'm still in the trenches, right? I'm still getting out there, making sure that my knuckles stay on the doors, and that we stay relevant to what's taking place. So we have things coming, right? Like I'm being featured on a TEDx. I'm writing 2 books right now, Josh. Are you familiar with Chris Voss?
Yep.
So Chris Voss, Never Split the Difference, renowned FBI hostage negotiator. So I'm co-authoring a book with him along with 24 other authors. And it's called Flip the Script, Negotiating with Tactical Empathy. And I have a chapter in that book. It's going to be really powerful, really impactful, because I talk about how the hardest negotiations aren't with the sales meeting, aren't in the conference room. They're with the people that you love, right? It's the wife you're working with. It's your best friend that you hired. It's the guy that's your cousin that you love to death, but he's slacking. And now we need to go talk about and have these negotiations and figure out how to navigate those, right? And then I'm also dropping an awesome book, and it will be mildly controversial as well. But it's going to be called The Law of Action. And it's a play on the law of attraction. It kind of has that part X'd out. And it's a mindset book, on how to overcome and navigate with all these philosophies and all the frequencies and all the noise that's going on around you, how to stay focused and make sure that we're taking action, whether it's massive or micro, in the right direction and moving our life in the way that it needs to go, and not relying on the universe and our goodwill and our good fortune and our great vibe to carry us there. Right. So, and then, like I said, we're being featured on TEDx. So lots of stuff going on. I coined this when I was 19 years old. As soon as I started, I was like, dude, I'm going to be the celebrity roofer. And right. I put it in my bio, and I've never taken it out. And I've kind of ridden that wave. So as we're, getting into a greater realm of influence, just letting people know that, like, there's so much money in roofing. There's so much money in hard work. There's so much money in taking massive action towards your dreams and your goals. And it's so worth it. Right. And just, again, providing my story to inspire others to know that they can do it as well.
That leads me to a question. How do you mitigate or overcome burnout?
Have I been burned out before? I guess maybe a couple times, maybe. But at the end of the day, you just got to ask yourself, like, how bad do you want it? Do you really want it, or do you not want it? I mean, it's real simple. It's just like burnout's for the birds. There's people doing real work out there. There's people making real money. There's people having real conversations. There's people making real connections. And you're over here contemplating, am I burned out? Like, it's just, that's an easy excuse to give yourself. So at the end of the day, you just got to be real with yourself. Like, do you really want it? Or is this just like a facade thing that's giving you some type of momentum right now. Because like anything great doesn't happen overnight. I mean, you've been doing this a long time, Josh. You know, man, that anything worth building, anything worth developing, anything worth investing in takes time to really see the fruit that it can produce for you. So I would just challenge that as soon as you feel burned out, that's when you know you got to go David Goggins and like you got extra fuel in the tank. Like just that's when you need to like go harder. Like you think you're burning out now, I guarantee you have 50% more you could give. And I tell people this, that burnout is just a lie. Okay. Burnout is basically like an overload of stress. Okay. And the only time you feel an overload of stress, or I should say it like this, you're not feeling burnout from doing work. Okay. You're not feeling burnout from accomplishing goals, from knocking out projects, from impacting people, from making money. It's not burning you out. What's burning you out or causing that anxiety, that stress to want to quit is the things that you're not taking action towards. So all the things that you know you should be doing that you're not doing, those compound. And now all of a sudden that can, if people, you got to actually have enough awareness to understand like burnout and then like, where's that coming from? Oh, wait, it's actually stress. Why am I stressed? Well, I'm not stressed from doing a great job working. I'm stressed from all the things I know I should be doing that I'm not. That's what's making you want to burn out. So if that's what's taking place, in this person's mind, they need to make a list of all the things that they need to do. You need to go back to your to-do list, write everything that you know you need to do. And I bet you'll take a deep breath after that. And now let's start checking the boxes. What 3 can I do tomorrow? What 3 can I do Tuesday? What 3 can I do Wednesday? Now the whole list is done, and you can get over that hump because burning out, you don't ever get burned out from finding success. You don't ever get burned out from working hard. You get burned out from being so stressed because there's other things that you need to be doing that you're not taking action towards.
Yeah, I love that. I agree with it. I think there's a lot of soul searching that people need to do. They also just need to be honest with themselves. I think that's something that people aren't is honest with themselves too often. And what I've seen too is people fall in love with the idea and they hate the work. And you fall in love with the process.
Yeah.
And what you're talking about, like the whole David Goggins thing, part of my philosophy is if I'm tired, that just means I've gotten as far as everybody else. So now the reps start to count, right? The work starts to count. Now we start finally moving the needle. I've just worked my ass off to get here and everybody else has already gotten here because now I'm just tired. So I think I agree with you. I think burnout comes from stress. Nobody's burnt out from being successful. I like that you said that.
Yeah, dude, you're not burned out from doing your job.
Right.
Come on, dude. You wake up, you do that every day.
Yeah.
But if we get more granular, like Tony Robbins says, everybody's biggest problem is thinking that they shouldn't have any. So it's like, come on, dude. Like, why are you running away from pain so bad? Like, is it that like people run away from their pain tolerances are so low that little bit of pain, that little bit of suffering, right? And it makes them run away. And then that's why, like, if you can just, the secret to life, if you will, right? Secret to life, just be the last one standing. And if you can do that in any aspect of life that you're in, you'll be more than a conqueror and you'll make it through because everybody else's pain tolerances are so low. Like Alex Ramosi, I think he says like his dad told him growing up, 2 points brave, 1 point intellect will always be more valuable than 2 points intellect, 1 point brave. Because like in an age of infinite leverage and information, the person that's willing to act on that is still more valuable because everybody has the information. So who's going to be brave enough to stand long enough, suffer through it, bleed, feel all of that? Do you know who Colin O'Brady is, Josh?
I don't. That's the first name you said I didn't know.
Colin O'Brady, he is the world record holder for like a bunch of things. Okay. Like he crossed Antarctica by himself with a 300-pound sled, walked it, camped it, took him like over a month. He did it by himself. He has climbed like every mountain, like the fastest. And he talks about how he has so many amazing stories. But one quick story, I'll just do the Antarctica one, is he's traveling through Antarctica, and he's 3 hours into the walk, and he's recording. He's like selfie recording. He's crying. He's like, I can't do this. It's so cold. Like, it sucks. Like, I can't do it. And he's literally crying. He's like, I just did all these promotions, all this PR, paid all of this money, raised all of this money, had all these people believe me. Now I'm here, and I'm 3 hours in. The sled is heavy as balls. Okay. I'm already like tired. It's freezing. And he wanted to give up right then and there. Right. And he talks about how he wanted to give up and give up and give up. And he makes it all the way to the end. And he crosses Antarctica. And he said, and he does another video, and he can like barely talk. He's so tired, right? Because the story's incredible if you have time to go and read it or listen to it. He gets there, he can barely talk, but he's so happy and he's so hungry. He's like, I'm so hungry. And but the whole core of the story is that if you want to have 9s and 10s in your life, those high moments, they're directly tied and correlated with the 1s and 2s in life. So if you want to have the highest highs, you got to be willing to go through the lowest lows. And that's where people don't experience 9s and 10s in their life, and they're curious why, right? They're just stuck at 5, 6, 7, 8. They go down to 3 and 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And it's like this cycle, and they're just average, and they're living this average life, and they're having average emotions and average experiences. And it's because they're not willing to go through the 1s and the 2s in order to experience the power and the magnitude of a true 9 and a true 10 experience in your life. And that was like a core story, core principle that I applied to my life. And it helps you get through those burnout moments because you know that there's a 10 tied to this 1. All right, I'm burned out. I'm a 2. I know there's a 9 coming around the corner as long as I can stay standing, as long as I can stay in the ring, as long as I don't give up, I don't tap in or tap out, pardon me, I will make it through this.
Trenton, what else do you like to talk about or would like to share that we have not touched on?
I think we covered a lot of ground. We talked about sales. We hit a little bit about culture. We talked about mindset. I can't think of anything, off the top of my head. I think that the conversation's been very beneficial and interesting, and it's been fun to share some of my perspectives. And, I really appreciate you being open and having us out.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me ask you one final question. What has been the book or podcast that's impacted you the most in the last year?
Book or podcast within the last year? Man, that's a tough question. I would say probably a combination of, Tim Grover's book, Winning?
Mm-hmm.
So like, that's one I just like can listen to like so many times. Right. So, I've listened to that book, and the whole, just the mindset and understanding the routines and understanding the work ethic behind like Michael Jordan and all those types of things really help me, right? And really inspire me when they're waking up earlier, when they're staying out later, when they're staying on the court longer, when they're doing a longer workout, a harder workout, whatever it is. Like, it's so encouraging to me. And then I would say, 10X by Grant Cardone, the 10X rule. Okay. Just helping you really understand that like you can think bigger. Like there's like this open Like there's just so much more. Like a lot of us are playing the game just so wrong. Fundamentally, like people are fundamentally playing the game wrong and then wondering why they're not achieving the success that they believe that they should have. And it's because they're not paying to play. They're not paying to learn. You know, it's one thing to read a book. It's a different thing to go meet that person face to face. It's different to go to a conference where you don't meet that person, but you meet 20 other people that are in similar businesses or have accomplished, you know, great success that you can rub shoulders with. So many people will buy the truck, will buy this, will spend all the money, and over a quarter at the bar comes out to $15,000, whatever it is that they're spending, when they could take that money and actually invest it into something that will help them develop and grow. And, you know, there's a guy that I like the way he says it. He says your network plus your self-worth is your net worth, right? So it kind of takes a little deeper than like, you know, your network's your net worth. It's like, dude, your network is super important because you can't do anything by yourself. But then your self-worth is really important too, because you have to know how capable and how much opportunity and how strong you actually are in order to go chase those things. And when you can marry those two worlds, then that's your net worth, because it doesn't matter how much money you have in your pocket. It's all about who you know, not what you know. It's just a phone call away from connecting with somebody and getting that next opportunity, and things across those lines. So
awesome. Well, how can people find you?
They can find me on Instagram at trenton.wisecup. You can find me at on our website at trentonwisecup.com. You can find our consulting business at empowermeconsulting.com. And we'd love to connect with any listener that was impacted or felt like they took any value from today's episode. And we'd love to connect more. You can DM me directly and or fill out the web form.
Cool. Well, Trenton, I thank you very much for taking the time to be here and adding value. And it always excites me to see other people in the coaching arena and educating and leveling up people in the skilled trades. It just makes me happy knowing that, because there's a small group of us, but knowing that group of us can work together, we can have these conversations, we can share, and be open to learning from one another. So again, I appreciate you being here today.
Absolutely, Josh. Thanks for having me, man. And I'm sure we'll connect later.
Yep. Looking forward to it.